Welcome back to the GTN Show.
Yeah, this week we are going to be discussing the new open category for transgender athletes that British Triathlon have just announced.
Yeah, we're also going to be discussing why your appetite decreases after a hard run.
Well, we've also got some new and some bizarre tech, a TT bike, some NFTs that are going to be showing athletes' biometric data, as well as an aerodynamic balaclava. All right, let's kick things off by taking a look at stuff we spotted online over the last few days. And this first one is Patrick Langer has just teamed up with a coffee roastery to make his own coffee roast. So it's Dinsler Coffee he's partnered with, and apparently he's honed it in so that it's one of his favourites and it's his go-to every day, which he was drinking every day up until rot. I just see it as a bit of competition to Jan Frodeno, isn't it? It's like a little poke there. It's not quite a coffee shop, but it's on the way.
Maybe that's the next step. Yeah, it just continues that rivalry. But yeah, we'll have to. Maybe we should sample them both and do a rating, a blindfolded rating.
And see how well we can run afterwards or something.
Next up, it was spotted on Canworth this weekend, him wearing these shoes, which are quite interesting. They're the Nike Alphafly Next Percent 2s. God, it's quite a mouthful, isn't it? I always get confused which ones they are.
I have no idea.
But these have got a Velcro strap, or so they appear to, across the top of them. They also, the nature version of the models, or Next Nature Sole they call them, where they're around 50% recycled in the soles. They take old cuttings of the Zoom X foam and put them into this sole. So I mean, it's very fancy, but most of all, I'm interested in this Velcro strap.
I am. I mean, it's kind of, I guess, a cool shoe for triathlon, isn't it? It's got the potential there, as long as it can hold your foot in place well enough. But, I mean, not a bad result for Cam running in them. So
yeah, exactly, yeah.
We'll come on to the results later on. Well, the next thing we spotted is just a lovely piece of news. Katie Zaferes and her husband, Tommy Zaferes, have given birth to a baby boy. There's a lovely post on Instagram here, and they put, "Welcome to the world, Kimball William Zaferes." As one of the boy names we picked out had made up Kimball, in honour of my dad, who had always wanted us to live our lives being humble and kind. So kind and humble. And also William after her father. I just think that's so lovely. And I don't know if you guys remember, but I think it was in the lead up to the games that Katie lost her father. And she was fairly open about how she struggled with that and had such a close relationship with him. So just really, really lovely story. And yeah, well, congratulations to both of them.
Yeah, and welcome to the world. Moving on, Professor Greg White, who you've actually filmed with, Heather.
Yeah, he's been on the channel.
He is going to be taking on, well, he says, his biggest challenge to date. He is going to be swimming 125 miles of the upper River Thames over 4 days.
Yeah, and he's actually trying to break a Guinness World Record with the time that he's doing it. So obviously it's a ridiculously huge distance as it is. Apparently he's aiming or thinks to do this, he's going to need to be in the water for about 20 hours a day. Ooh. So that's going to leave 4 hours for physio, a little bit of rest, maybe some sleep and nutrition. And it's going to basically break it down pretty much to 30 miles a day. And now my thought of even running 30 miles a day for 4 days is hard to comprehend. So I can't really imagine how he's going to be swimming it.
I just hope the water quality is okay for him, because that has got to be one of the biggest challenges with swimming in these rivers.
Yeah, especially at the moment. I mean, the water level in the UK is quite low, so hopefully it means nothing's running in, but then there's might be other stuff in there, I don't know. But he's not actually doing it for water awareness, he's doing it for the safety of, for UK charities, so for the RNLI, which is the Royal National Life Saving Institute, as well as the RLSS, which is the Royal Life Saving Society, basically to raise awareness of getting children and adults basically happy in the water and being able to swim. And he's got a target of 50k. So good luck, Greg, with reaching that target, but also with completing 125 miles. On to Tri News, and I often wonder if it's just me that spends quite a lot of my day thinking about my evening meal, what I'm going to eat, what's in the fridge, and occasionally get immense disappointment if I've done a hard race or a hard training session. I get home and I no longer have much of an appetite. Well, apparently there is some new evidence to prove that this could be a thing, and it might just not be my imagination, and there might be something that our bodies produce that could suppress our appetite.
Yeah, so researchers at Stanford University have actually identified a metabolite molecule that is released into our bloodstream during exercise and can suppress our appetites. Now, from their research and studies which have taken place on mice, racehorses and humans, they found that this metabolite increases as we increase the intensity of our exercise. And that metabolite is called N-lactoyl phenylalanine, or aka LACPH, which is a lot easier to say. And that increases both in animals and in humans.
Yeah, well, the interesting study, they took it further with humans, and they actually did 3 different versions of a test. So one with the sprint, that really high intensity. They did one over a more aerobic test, and they also tested it after doing resistance training. And all of those did actually increase LACPH, but interestingly, it was actually the sprint and that high intense exercise that brought it up the highest. And that then makes sense if you go into a little bit of the science to discover how it's actually produced. So the metabolite is actually formed by an enzyme reaction between the phenylalanine
Love it. That's even better.
and lactate. And obviously we produce a lot of lactate when you're working anaerobically. So that makes the sense of why we feel that, or why it's higher at the end of intense exercise.
Yeah, so the next step to the study was obviously to take that LACPH, or sounds like a Christmas carol, and give a dose of that to the mice that have been fed a high-fat diet. And as a result, they actually consumed less food over the next 12 hours. And actually, overall, this meant that they consumed less over the next 10 days, and there's a significant weight drop. Interestingly, also, their glucose homeostasis improved, so less sugar highs and lows. But they did notice that LACPH didn't have quite the same effect on mice that are on a low-fat diet.
Well, at this point in time, more research is needed to see how this actually crosses over to humans and to exercise. But I'm sure we can relate to some of that. And I thought, why don't we do our own non-scientific research and ask you guys, do you feel this? I mean, is it just me? I haven't even asked you, Mark. Do you get that feeling sometimes?
I definitely get it after, say, like a hard track session, and you're like if you do
late night wanting and then you can't eat.
and you think you're obviously going to want a load of food, and you get home, you're like, I can't eat for a couple of hours.
Yeah.
So, mad. So let us know what you think in the comment section down below.
Well, in other news, British Triathlon have been making their headlines for a statement they released last week. They have just made a change to their transgender policy, and they're actually the first national triathlon federation and also the first sporting body in the UK to come up with this announcement. And they're going to, as of next year, they're going to have a open category and a female category. So the female category will be for athletes who are assigned the female sex at birth, and then the open category will be for transgender, for non-binary, and for male athletes who were assigned the male sex at birth. Now, currently, World Triathlon actually have a slightly different policy that hasn't been changed since 2015, and it seems that other federations are still following that, but there could be some change on the horizon.
Yeah, but these BTF rules will come into effect from January the 1st, 2023, with guidance to clubs, coaches, officials, committees coming sometime this autumn. On an international level, the IOC have actually passed responsibility of this policy making onto the international federations, saying that there is not one rule that suits all sports. With that in mind, so World Triathlon are actually currently in the process of reviewing their policy change or guidelines they're going to be making, and that's being presented to the executive board on the 3rd of August, and then from there will obviously be some sort of, I guess, reviewing of that. And yeah, as you say, we'll see where that goes. Yeah,
it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, we covered on the show a few weeks ago that FINA, the World Swimming governing body, made a big announcement on their change to their policy, and it'll be interesting to see if World Triathlon comes up with something different again and how that might affect the British Triathlon's decision. So it's quite bold of British Triathlon to go ahead and make this the first step, so it'll be interesting to watch this space.
Yeah, definitely. Now, just a couple of weeks' time, we have the first ever PTO Tour event. Now, this is going to be the Canadian Open taking place in Edmonton. We've already been discussing some of those athletes that have been putting their names down on the start list for that, but we've got a very exciting one added to that, and that is Nicola Spirik. Now, there are a number of events taking place at the Canadian Open, but the big one is this pro event, the 100-kilometre event, and we've got the likes of Christian Blumenfeld, Gustav Eden, Patrick Langer. On the women's side, joining Nicola Spirik, we've got Laura Phillip, Taylor Knibb, Emma Pallant, Holly Lawrence. I mean, the list goes on. So very excited for that event. And yeah, just a couple of weeks' time.
Well, I think that's a distance that Nicola really, I mean, she does all distances, obviously, but that's kind of one that she could probably still get away with being on her road bike and absolutely nailing. So It's exciting to see that. Now, another piece that caught my eye recently is not necessarily new news, but it's looking at recycling of our garments. And I think we always talk about this, of how much we use in triathlon. Well, Lululemon have been leading the way for a while with their Like New programme, when people can bring back old garments that are Lululemon into the store and then get a voucher depending on what quality they're in. They get refreshed and resold. Well, they've now opened that to all of their US stores, which I think is very cool. And there's certain amounts, as long as your kit is able to still be used, you get, for example, $5 for a tank top, up to $25 for outerwear. And that's something that you might have kind of grown out of or just got a bit bored of, is now someone else's new kit for much less than they'd have to pay. And it's kind of keeping the life cycle of the garment alive. Hopefully they'll end up coming over to the UK and other countries with Lululemon as well.
Definitely, it's a great initiative, and it's a growing area, which is really good to see, rather than stuff just unfortunately going to landfill. And there are a few other brands which we've kind of collated and brought together here that are doing a similar thing. So Patagonia do a very similar thing, as do Fabletics. But Adidas I thought was quite interesting, quite notable, because they accept gear from any brand, any condition.
Bold, isn't it?
Free shipping back to Adidas, and then they'll actually give you membership points that you can then kind of convert into money to spend on up to $40, I believe, in their store. So really cool.
Yeah.
Now for What the Tech. Now, I am actually off to Eurobike in the next couple of days, so we're going to have a load of tech content coming from there, because it is one of the biggest cycling expos in the world. But in the meantime, we have got a few interesting bits. First of all, NFTs with biometric data in them.
Oh yeah, so Project Fuerza meaning power in Spanish, has been launched by Hunter Allen. He's teaming up with world-class cyclists, and they are divulging their power from certain races, and then they're working with world-renowned artists who are using these data files to create unique artwork that's going to tell the story of a certain race or a certain stage of a race. Now, this is kind of already slightly blowing my mind, but there's some pretty big names who are getting involved in this. We've got the likes of Mark Cavendish, Geraint Thomas, Peter Sagan, Jens Voigt, who are all buying into it, and I can see why when you start to look at the price tags.
Yeah, now the NFTs will actually come with a license so that you can access this data, so it's not just kind of there in the image somehow. I mean, I've got to say, I do not get NFTs, and we've just been having a route through their website. There's thousands of these NFTs available on there already, and I still haven't got my head around them, but they range from $100 through to millions in some cases, depending on the cyclist or the artist obviously involved. But with some of these higher end NFTs, you will actually get some little bonuses in there. You may actually get to ride with these cyclists on the course of the NFT that you're buying. Hopefully not at the metrics or the power that they rode them at.
Or maybe you can have an e-bike and experience it for real and go at their speed. Who knows? Well, apparently next year they're going to be developing this further and actually offering the public, I guess, to have their own power files made into artwork. I mean, what would yours look like, do you think?
Today would be pretty non-existent. I mean, it might be funny to have a look at, just coffee, sit down, type in coffee.
I mean, I'm sure an artist could make something from that.
I'm sure they could. I mean, they do anything with NFTs these days. Also, we've obviously got the Tour de France on at the moment. In the past week, the Specialized S-Works TT5 time trial helmet has caused a bit of a stir, and it's been worn by pretty much all of the Quickstep Alpha Vinyl riders, but it wasn't the helmet necessarily that caused a stir. It was this hood or balaclava thing that they're wearing.
Yeah, it certainly got picked up everywhere, didn't it? Because it's quite a unique look. So it covers the rider's chin, their ears, the back of their head, and is basically a sock that is apparently designed to help reduce that aerodynamic drag and I guess keep you warm. Is that what it's supposed to do?
I don't know, to be honest, Heather. But I mean, in terms of the actual helmet design, they've got this exhaust kind of port on the back, which presumably is to help airflow through the helmet, which you're probably going to need if you've got this balaclava on. And I was going to say it would be welcomed in warmer conditions, but you've got a balaclava on, so I don't know, to be honest. Also, they've spotted at the Tour de France is the new Colnago TT1 bike, which I've got to say is really nice looking. So most notably, we've got this horizontal kind of chainstay design. It kind of comes up and goes into horizontal position and then straight across seamlessly into this storage unit that's between the seat stay and the down tube, and then into the down tube. So really nice design. They've also made the most of the revamped UCI rules, which sort of removes the restrictions on the tubing shape or the size of the tubing shape. So they've got these really beefy fork tubing or fork blades.
On to race news now, and we had a women's-only race at Ironman Thun, and obviously Daniela was in her home country and feeling fairly comfortable. She wasn't really pushed that much in this race. She swam a 51.20, which gave her a 5-minute advantage coming out of the swim ahead of Nina Deron and Tara Grosvenor. And you might have thought that the group might have got together and started to close that gap, but we all know how strong Daniela is on the bike, and she opened up almost half an hour lead by the time she came into T2, and yeah, it was a pretty, I think for her, a casual marathon. She ended up completing in 8:59.05, so under that magic 9 hours, but winning by about 6K when it actually came to, that's how far the others still had to run. Second place went to Alexandra Tundur, and third was Heini Hartikainen of Finland.
Yeah, well, we had a pro male race over in Spain, Ironman Vitoria-Gasteiz. The swim saw a small group established a lead very early on. That was a group of 4 of them, with Nick Castelline leading them out, and they had around 1:40 on the next group. But 2.5 minutes back, we had Cameron Worth. But that was soon about to change, because he powered his way to the front of the race within about 25 kilometres and posted the fastest bike split of the day by over 10 minutes, a time of 4 hours, 1 minute and 33 seconds. And on to run, Nick Castelline by this point was outside the top 10, actually over around 13 minutes back on Cameron Worth, who is currently leading, and gradually worked his way through the field and managing to pass Cameron Worth with around 5K to go, and by which point Cameron unfortunately wasn't able to respond. Castelline clocked the fastest run split of the day, 2 hours, 43 minutes and 28 seconds, taking that win. Cameron Worth in second, and in third, Dominic Sawyers.
We also had 70.3 Oregon, both a male and female pro race. And I first looked at this and thought, my goodness, those swims are quick. And it turned out it was a point-to-point with the current swim, as highlighted by Heather Jackson with her Instagram poster, which made me chuckle. She says, decided last minute to drive over to Salem for the Oregon 70.3 yesterday. And as I made very clear on the start line, I was there for one reason. I won't read the next bit, but basically for a swim PR, baby. So I think, yes, she managed to reach that result, but it was actually Danielle Lewis who had a great day and took the win, just getting under 4 hours with a 3:59.33. It was Rinny Carfrey who finished second, and Heather Jackson completing the podium in third.
Yeah, but over on the men's side, it was Justin Metzler that took the win there, ahead of Jack Moody, and in third, Kyle Buckingham, who was actually recently just moved with his family over to the US. So well done to those chaps. This weekend we also had WTCS Hamburg, which was a sprint distance non-wetsuit swim race, and it was very, very exciting because we got to see Flora Duffy.
Yes. Well, true to Flora Duffy form, she tried to push it on the bike. We know how strong she is, but she didn't manage to get a breakaway with a group, so it ended up being a full pack on the bike coming into T2. But it was transitions that didn't quite go to plan for Flora. She ended up getting a penalty for T1, apparently her first ever penalty for her goggles being outside of the box. But then she also in T2 came in near the front and ended up going out at the back of that lead group, so having to work her way back up through the field. She then decided to take that penalty, the 10-second penalty, halfway through the run. So after one lap, 2.5K, she took her 10 seconds and then had to work her way back. She ended up with a 6-second deficit to Beth Potter at this stage with just 2.5K to go, and managed to reel her back in and take the win. Just phenomenal running. I think she ran a 16:17 for that final 5K, which I don't know if that includes a penalty or not, but that is ridiculously fast. So the overall results were Flora Duffy first, it was Beth Potter who hung in for second, and then Lisa Tersch from Germany who finished third.
Yeah, I've got to say, Beth Potter is not someone that you want to,
run
be having to chase down.
It's amazing.
On the men's side, Vincent Louis surged to the front of the swim as they approached T1, creating a small gap between him and the chasers. He managed to make a small breakaway with a couple of others. That was quickly shut down on the bike, and by the end of lap 1 of 6, there were 37 in that leading group. South Africa's Jamie Riddle tried a very bold solo attack on lap 3 and was swallowed up eventually on lap 5, meaning that a big group entered T2 together, ready for that run. Matt Hauser ran really well and really pushed the pace, but it wasn't enough to overhaul Hayden Wild, who took the win ultimately ahead of Matthew Hauser. And then in third, we had Jawad Abdullah.
Well, we also had a team mixed relay, and it was Great Britain who came up on top with that one. It was second place to Australia, and then Germany took third.
Yeah, we also had the Otelo Engadin event on, which is actually one of the original and most spectacular Otelo events out there. I've always wanted to do it. It takes place in the Engadin Valley in the Swiss Alps. It's a total of 4,300 metres long, 9 swim sections totaling just under 6k, and then 10 run sections totaling around 37k. And they say they've got around 1,300 metres of elevation gain across the course. Quickly run through the results. So the men, it was Team Arc that took the win there. The women's, it was Team Envol Head Arc, and then mixed, it was also Team Arc that took the win there.
Yeah, and we had another race. It was the Clash Endurance Watkins Glen, and the men's race was won by Andrew Starkovich of the USA. Second, Jason West, and third place in the men's race was Nicholas Chase.
Yep, and on the women's side, it was Sophie Watts that took the win there, ahead of Hayley Chura, and in third, Leslie Smith. Okay, now time to take a look through some of the photos, videos, etc. that you guys have sent in to us. Now, we have actually had loads of submissions from you guys, but a lot of them happen to be very professional looking photos, you coming across finish lines. Now, just want to let you guys know, we unfortunately can't put those photos up, as lovely as they are, and we'd love to shout about them. So very well done to you guys that have sent them in, and congratulations on the race, but they need to be your photos rather than a professional photographer's, otherwise we're going to get a bit of a slap.
Yeah, so you need to make sure you've got your family and your supporters out there on course, getting their phones ready, plenty of like nice, good pictures that you can use and share with us. So anyway, this one we do have this week from Niklas, and it's his bike, which is a crescent on the back of his car. Now, there's a reason to that. He says, somewhere in Småland in southern Sweden, bike loaded on my car for the trip through the deep forest of Småland from Kalmar, home of the Ironman Sweden, in case you didn't know apparently, to Jönköping for the Ironman 70.3 on Sunday, which is going to be his first ever triathlon. So I presume that has actually happened. We'd love to know how you got on. It says, was supposed to be racing in 2020, it was cancelled, and then again in 2021 he couldn't actually make it. So he's beyond excited. Well, do let us know, Niklas, how that went.
Yeah, I've never heard of a Crescent. Looks like a lovely bike. So yeah, hope it went well. And yeah, as we said, keep sending in your photos and videos. But it can be anything. It doesn't necessarily just have to be racing. It could be you training, prepping, your kits, hacks, bodges, you name it. The photo uploader link is on screen right now. You can find that in the description below as well. Okay, now for the caption competition. And last week's photo was Magnus Ditlev missing his head with the beer at the end of Challenge Rot. We had loads of great captions coming in from you guys, starting from Juju Ryan. When a German is annoyed with everyone asking how much beer he drinks, which seems to be a theme. Yeah. Germans get asked how much beer they drink.
I've never asked a German that, but anyway. Savage Pro comes with this one, it's very clever, the Froth Challenge.
Nice. Thienan said, Ditlev knows how to swim, bike and run. Other things typically go over his head.
Nice. Roger C, dump it. The last time I drank beer this big, I decided to do an Ironman distance race. I think a lot of people could relate to that one.
That's great. Keith Duran, triathlons are totally on my level, but beer drinking is totally over my head.
I love it. Our winner this week, though, of the GTN Caption Competition is Andrew Lovelock with this. Well, I made a dinger of that.
Nice. This week's Caption Comp photo, though, is from Ironman in Switzerland, and it's these alpacas. Yeah. What we're going to go for then.
Do you see Al packing that punch on the climb?
Nice, that's good. I actually haven't. It's better. I mean, I was trying with the neck, or I don't know. You guys do the best you can in the comment section down below. But that is it for the show this week. As I mentioned already, I'm off to Eurobike this week, so expect a lot of tech over the next couple of days. So stay tuned for that, and make sure that you like and subscribe.
Yeah, and remember, we've still got some pretty new stuff in the GTN shop. If you want to get your hands on that, go and check that out. And a couple of videos you might want to take a look at before you go. Quinn's Challenge Roth Experiences Part 1, Part 2 is coming very soon. And we've also got some age group cool tech.